You've probably matched a toxic opponent and really wanted to beat them, right? Well, I was put in that position, going against a toxic opponent, and it ended with me getting this message. But it's not exactly what you think, because this message doesn't tell the whole story. And it'll all make sense once I explain it. But before I do that, I have to take you to how it all started, and how I figured out my opponent was toxic initially. So mind you, I'm just here trying to qualify for FUT champion, right? So we're 0-0. So the game would start off with my opponent getting past my defense quite easily with La Minya Mao, and then just slaughtering it into the back of the net. You feel me? And everything was all good. My opponent just skipped. No animosity, right? But then off the thought, my opponent would go ahead and score again with Rapinha quite quickly, and then do this celebration. But I didn't find it as toxic. There's only really one celebration that everybody knows in the community that's toxic, especially if you play this game enough. So then what would we do? We would answer back with the Jairzinho effect, slaughtering it with the lefty like Messi. You feel me? But then this is where everything started to change. I realized from this, my opponent would get the ball into the Rapinha and score another goal, and then decide to hit the gritty timing. Okay. And this is where I figured out they were a toxic player. And so how did we get to those messages, you might be asking? Well, even though we were down 3-1 already, the game was not entirely over, because we would find one of our players and hit a boom shakalaka and score. And then my opponent started to get a little bit shaky, but it wasn't over just yet, because my opponent would go ahead and score again with Rapinha and hit the gritty timing 2 times in a row. It's good to be toxic, really, right? Well, just pay attention, because something would happen here that my opponent did not realize. That would be a huge plot twist. But before I tell you how that happened, let's continue with what happened in the game. So what would happen next? How it's core beauty, making us only down by 1. And then after that, I can sense that my opponent was shaking in their boots a little bit, afraid of a comeback. Very scary, almost like how Darwin Neves Nunes was before he took the pen. And so moving forward, we would get the ball into the Jairzinho effect and blast it with a banger with the lefty like Messi and score. Now that we've tied it at 4, my opponent had a devious plan to try and ruin our chances of a comeback. And trust me, you wouldn't expect, because as the game moved on, we were really pressuring our opponent. And so just before we can get a chance to take the lead, our opponent would leave the game at 4-4. But what they didn't realize is that EA dropped a patch stating that after the 45th minute, if your opponent leaves while winning, or if the game is a draw, you automatically get the win. So I told my toxic opponent, thanks for the win. So they messaged me, you're too easy, not knowing that they gave me the win. They said, unlucky though, better luck next time. I said, you make no sense. You gave me the free win by quitting. My opponent replied, stop texting random garbage, and said, hold your L. I guess winning is an L. It is what it is. But he didn't know about the new patch trying to be toxic. Now let me know in the comments if y'all went against a toxic opponent and took a W on them. Yeah.